I'm Ollie Davis, this is the WrestleTalk News, a daily show that covers an increasingly tribalistic wrestling media, where wrestling fan venomously attacks wrestling fan over opinions as trivial as the three letters on top of the show they like best. But even amongst that online trolling, those bad actor-fueled arguments, that mindless hate, no matter what promotion you fight for, I bring every single wrestling fan good news! We are nowhere near as bad as Taylor Swift fans. Apart from you, Denise. WWE's Grayson has found himself the latest target of the Swiftie fanbase, after he called Taylor a 6 out of 10 on an episode of The Bump. I don't know what Swift fans are so angry about. On the Bret Hart scale, that's 50% better than Triple H. But they piled on Waller anyway. Their mistake? It just fueled his heelish tendencies as he tweeted, "Big congrats to wrestling fans, mate. I always thought you were the ugliest losers on social media, but then I met the Swifties. Enjoy the number 2 spot, Bonza." He has since lent into his Swifties feud going viral, posting a sorry not sorry apology video, and at the Sunday 22nd WWE live show, wearing a Taylor shirt down to the ring for his match, mocking her handshake with Brittany Mahomes with Austin Theory. Having slightly less intensity than Waller versus Taylor Swift fans, the AEW WWE tribal war is set to intensify in the coming weeks, as both promotions head towards running shows in Chicago just days apart. The location is particularly charged for both sides. The AEW Chicago is their spiritual home. It's where their Prologue All-In pay-per-view first took place, becoming the city they ran more than any other, especially during the 2 years they had CM Punk. Chicago for AEW is what New York is for WWE. Their home base. But it's also a very loaded place for WWE. With a historically passionate fan base, Chicago has given WWE some of its hardest shows, famously threatening to riot if John Cena beat Punk at Money in the Bank 2011. And it looks like WWE's recent momentum has won the Chicagoans over, as their Survivor Series at Chicago's All-State Arena on Saturday the 25th of November has performed exceptionally well in ticket sales, while AEW's Wednesday the 22nd Dynamite, just a 25-minute drive away, is struggling to shift seats. WrestleTalk have already reported that Survivor Series has sold out of every ticket available, apart from 15 combo tickets to see the premium live event and SmackDown the previous night. House of Wrestling have reported demand is so high, WWE is not offering comp tickets to talent or staff working the event. They've also changed the stage layout of Survivor Series to accommodate an additional 2,784 seats. More than all of Collision in Memphis this past Saturday, as the All-State Arena is small enough that having a Titantron is actually a hindrance. This means WWE will not be using the Tron for the shows, and will potentially have a straight ramp, giving it a very old-school Madison Square Garden style, and could feature a small Tron above the entranceway. This will bring the total capacity to 15,342. House of Wrestling have become a very interesting wrestling news source to follow since the summer, chiefly because the house in House of Wrestling is Nick Houseman. He who arguably started the whole fall of AEW when CM Punk saw him in the post-All-Out 2022 media scrum and started laying into him for being friends with Colt Cabana, prompting the pipe bomb that marked the long beginning of the end of Punk in AEW. Yes, I have managed to make this story about CM Punk. Thank me in the comments. Thank me! An odd couple pairing appeared to follow, though, with Houseman frequently breaking stories from the CM Punk camp during his return and eventual dismissal this year, implying Houseman is being fed information from Punk behind the scenes. So you should take notice, but also have a healthy pinch of salt available when, as part of his write-up on the Survivor Series season expansion, Houseman includes, ticket demand for the show has been unprecedented amidst rumors that CM Punk could return to the promotion for the first time in almost a decade at the event in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. Wrestling Observer newsletter reported 2 weeks ago that WWE had decided to pass on bringing Punk back in, but BWE have recently teased an update on that situation. We don't know what that update is yet, though. Punk was actually in action over the weekend, providing narration for the opening video of a Chicago Blackhawks game, proving that even despite a year of controversy, he remains a beloved hero in his hometown. Which is why I just can't see Triple H passing this opportunity up. With Survivor Series, WWE have both the city of Chicago, AEW's spiritual home, remember, and CM Punk, AEW's former biggest star, both up for grabs. To take both in one night would be a major move in the WWE versus AEW war. But even if Hunter decides Punk is too much of a headache to endure, WWE is still ahead. WrestleTalk is reporting that aforementioned Dynamite, running in Chicago just 3 days before Survivor Series, has distributed only 1,984 tickets out of 5,224. For comparison, the last time AEW ran a Dynamite in Chicago just 4 months ago, they distributed 6,291 tickets. Granted, that was the week Punk returned on the premiering Collision, and Survivor Series is a major WWE pay-per-view compared to AEW's weekly TV episode, but as the recent NXT versus AEW head-to-head shows show, WWE often leans into superficial optics, boasting a number that beat Dynamite, but not focusing on how AEW wasn't on its normal night, and that NXT had loaded up their show more than some main roster anniversary episodes.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Yes, it is a Happy New Year indeed, but wait a second. Is it going to be so happy? Who's this? Oh, he's got a lovely beard. What's he hiding in there? Maybe a small helper, a boy maybe, or a squirrel. He's coming in here and somebody's come to say hello, and he doesn't want to say hello to you, and maybe someone else. No, a cuddle for me, thank you. No cuddles for you, or indeed you. Look at all those cuddles rejected. One more, yes. Down he goes. He just wants to find somebody who is emotionally available, and I thought he was going to cuddle him, but no, it wasn't a cuddle there either. Maybe a cuddle this time? No cuddles today. This guy needs to be more... maybe this guy. He gave him a little bit of a twizzle and then dropped him directly onto his head. Somebody has said, you know what, you need to start to be more emotionally available, and has pushed him into the corner, and he's just going to rest there for a bit. And then another man there. The ultimate punishment for the unavailable man is to be continually showered with love, which is what is happening right now.
Will Ospreay has wrestled what many are calling a match of the year contender over the weekend. Sorry guys, I think I've picked up my script from last weekend where, Will Ospreay had the match against Zack Sabre Jr. at Royal Quest. Or maybe it was a script from the weekend before that where he faced Yota Tsuchi. Or the weekend before that where he faced Marufuji and Noah. Nope, just turns out he does it every single weekend. Because Saturday saw Impact Wrestling's biggest show of the year, Bound for Glory, where Ospreay took on one of the other best wrestlers in the world right now, Speedball Mike Bailey, in an incredible match. But that's not the only thing that happened on the show. Not only did former AEW star Sonny Kiss debut as a regular for the promotion, not only did Matt Cardona and Juventud Guerrera make cameos, not only did Ace Steel, yes, that Ace Steel, start working backstage as a producer, the biggest news coming from Bound for Glory is that TNA is back.
Guys, did you hear the news? TNA is back! Yeah! TNA!
In a so cheesy it went all the way round and became sincere again short film, where Impact wrestlers like Josh Alexander, Jordan Grayson, and Eric Young were walking through the woods for a secret meeting with Kaz, who emerged from a lake holding a chest that had the old TNA in. Impact announced that from their Hard to Kill pay-per-view on the 13th of January, the promotion will return to its TNA branding. But everyone currently saying, I don't know why they changed their name in the first place. You have clearly forgotten the year 2017. After a disastrous several years that saw the company run out of money several times, a bitter battle between then owner Dixie Carter and attempted buyer Billy Corgan, and Jeff Jarrett somehow merging and then taking over TNA with Global Force Wrestling, the TNA name had been run into the ground. Anthem bought the promotion and rebranded it as Impact. And to their credit, along with President Scott D'Amore and the whole roster and backstage team, they have fought and clawed and put on a very consistent product since, building the US careers of Penta, Phoenix, Santana and Ortiz, even Don Callis. And as Dave Meltzer has observed, nostalgia is a powerful thing, and 7 years appears to have been enough for people to like the TNA name again. PW Insider has reported this has been in the works for ages, and was actually meant to be announced back at July's Slammiversary show. The reason the rebrand is happening is apparently to unite the fragmented history of the promotion, which at different times was known as TNA, then Global Force Wrestling, then finally Impact Wrestling. Also, Impact's international broadcast partners preferred the TNA name and were actually still using it internally. And lastly, Impact have been quietly polling their own fans, which found many preferred the TNA name. This is the culmination of several years of Impact embracing its TNA nostalgia, which has included putting on the Reverse Battle Royal. This will see new TNA Championship belts rolled out, which are apparently already made, but there are zero plans to return to the old six-sided ring, as that is far harder on the wrestlers' bodies. But that wasn't the only wrestling show on Saturday night. There was also AEW Collision plus Battle of the Belts, a 3-hour show I'm going to try to recap in 1 minute. One take. Bryan Danielson beat surprise opponent Andrade. Danielson was attacked by Malachi Black in the post-match. Scooby Blue, where are you? That Sky Blue in Scooby-Doo cosplay beat Hollywood Haley. She's from the Wrestler series on Netflix. The Guns beat the Outrunners for the Devil Masked Man to appear on screen afterwards for the second lights cut-out spot of the night. Jeff Jarrett defeated Eddie Kingston in a fun Memphis street fight, setting up Lethal versus Eddie for the ROH title. He cut a great promo later on. Miro beat Action Andretti as CJ Perry watched on. It all feels like some very weird sex game. FTR versus Bad Thad Brown and Darian Bengston ended in a no contest when the House of Black attacked. Your third lights cut out spot, and Big Bill and Ricky Starks retained their tag titles against the Blackpool Combat Club because of House of Black interference. But the returning Jon Moxley made the save in the post-match brawl. On Battle of the Belts, Orange Cassidy retained against John Silver. Andrade and CJ Perry teased teaming in. Damn it! No! Oh my undefeated streak has ended. That's frustrating. Well, I've started, so I'll finish. Samoa Joe beat Tony Nese. Chris Statlander retained against Willow Nightingale, with Sky Blue trying to cause dissension in the post-match, and The Acclaimed retained against 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. Now go watch the next battle of fantasy booking warfare.
Last week saw Ollie Davis and a bloated Bobby Lashley take down Sat Nyangi in the battle of the best booked Hurt Business reunion and advanced to the semi-final of our tournament to crown the least terrible booker of fantasy wrestling.